For several years now, Jaguar has been plugging away at becoming a serious contender in the luxury car segment. But there's just been one small problem. The British car maker hasn't exactly had the same selection of vehicles as its German rivals. And for that reason, 2015 looms as a watershed year. We've already seen the new XE, which arrives in Australia later this month, and now there's a larger sibling to go alongside it, the new XF.
The XF represents Jaguar's first real shot in years at the mid-sized luxury car segment. On sale in Australia from December, it will go up against Mercedes E-Class, the BMW 5 Series and Audi's A6. Jaguar has gone all out in the development of the new model, introducing a new aluminium-intensive platform that is lighter and more rigid than before, as well as new engines. The upgrades carry over to the interior as well.
And this is where some of the real magic happens with the XF. Even though it's 7mm shorter than before, the way that everything's been laid out has actually liberated more space inside the cabin. And there's a few cool technologies too. When you get in, hit the start button, the air vents actually roll around and create a really nice first impression.
In addition, the XF scores an optional new digital instrument cluster and 10-inch colour touchscreen. The catch is that the first wave of vehicles to Australia will make do with an analogue instrument cluster and smaller touchscreen until the higher specification technology becomes available around March.
It's the sum of all those inclusions that really make this interior impressive. It's bigger than before, it's got some nice Jaguar Land Rover's touches inside, and it's well resolved. It's plush, comfortable and a nice place to be.
4 different engines will be offered in the XF, 2 diesels and 2 petrols. Meanwhile, pricing is set to start from about $80,000.
But with the XE now occupying the bottom of the lineup, that's left the XF to its own territory. And it no longer has to straddle 2 separate segments. And this car's actually all the better for it. Jaguar's put quite a lot of work into developing its new aluminium intensive underpinnings, but it's also got the new engines. Now in the way of engines, a lot of the focus has been on the new 2-litre diesel Ingenium, and it is a huge leap over the predecessor. It's smoother, more refined, it's more linear in its acceleration, but it's also much better on fuel, using just 4 litres per 100 k's.
Despite the Ingenium's strong credentials, it was the larger 3-litre 6-cylinder turbo diesel that impressed most during the XF's international launch in Spain. With a mammoth 700 Nm of torque on offer, the oil burner is capable of zipping from 0 to 100 in just 6.4 seconds.
But it is a really impressive engine. It's forceful, yet really refined and efficient. There's nowhere near as much delay as the smaller 2-litre capacity. And on some of these really cool switchbacks and tight mountain passes, it's actually been a really engaging engine. In addition to that, it offers excellent fuel economy as well. We've seen a figure close to the claim in real life, which is pretty impressive. And all the while, it's been really refined as well. You don't get any of that diesel clatter once you're out on the move. And as I said before, just the overall torque that's on hand there, 700 Nm, it does a really good job of shifting this car's weight.
The XF makes key progress in the way it drives. The new underpinnings have endowed Jaguar's midsizer with better torsional rigidity and overall balance, while an electrically assisted steering package offers excellent weighting and feedback.
In regards to the rest of the car, well, it's a huge leap forward over the predecessor. There's 2 different suspension packages on offer in the XF, and that will be the same in Australia. The one is the passive damping system, and then you move up to the adaptive damping system that we're in at the moment. Even in the standard setting, it is a really impressive and compliant ride. It does a good job of keeping the body in control through faster corners, but it's also very compliant over small bumps in the road. The one criticism is that it can become a little bit floaty over faster undulations. You just notice that weight really sort of compressing the car's suspension. The good thing is that with the adaptive dampers, it really alleviates all of that. It controls the body better again. It does an even better job over small bumps, and it's basically perfect for this genre of vehicle. It really isolates the occupants from the outside elements. It's quiet, refined, everything that you'd expect for this price point. I guess the thing with the XF is that it is a bit of a work in progress. Once Jaguar can get its top spec in-control touchscreen into the vehicle and we finally see that 2-litre petrol Ingenium engine, this thing really has all the hallmarks to be a really great car. Now, no doubt the German rivals are getting better and better as well, but this thing is the closest thing yet that we've seen to those. It's more refined, it's more efficient, but it's also very engaging and fun to drive, and I think it's a key step forward for the Jaguar brand. And when you put it up against the XE, which has become better as well, Jaguar definitely has a more complete offering in both segments. And I think the future bodes pretty well for the British car maker.
The XF impressed during our extensive road drive, but an even bigger test of the new engines and architecture came when we took it to the track.
Now, as with most European prestige brands nowadays, no range is complete without the flagship sports model, and in the XF's case, that is the S that we're in at the moment. We're at the Navarro circuit in Spain near Pamplona to really test the parameters on this thing. Now, at the very heart of this car is a 3-litre supercharged V6 that makes 280 kilowatts and 450 newton meters. Now, that's fast enough to help it accelerate from 0 to 100 in just 5.4 seconds. And if the engine sounds familiar, well, that's because it is. It's the same V6 that's found in Jaguar's F-Type. Now, on a tight twisting circuit like Navarra, you instantly notice the extra weight of this thing compared to the F-Type. It tips the scales from 1,710 kilograms. That's 1.7 tons. And it certainly makes its weight known through the faster corners. There's a little bit of body roll, and it can be a little bit of a wrestle through the tighter corners as well. But you know what, for an executive sedan, this thing's actually pretty fun. I mean, its main brief is to be comfortable, quiet, refined, but it does this sporty stuff pretty well in addition. Now, the Australian specification model will be rear-wheel drive only, and that's a bit of a shame because the UK market and several other markets around the world get a 4-wheel drive derivative. But even so, this thing's got some pretty cool functions, including torque vectoring technology that brakes the inside wheel as you go through a corner to help with the trajectory of the vehicle. In addition, its electrically assisted power steering is really prompt in its response. It's got a nice weighting and feel to it, and it's devoid of any kickback through corners. Now, just because the XF weighs that much, it doesn't mean it's not fun. Yes, it is a bit of a handful through corners, but you know what? I'm having plenty of fun behind the wheel. It's still a very lively and entertaining car, and while it may not be quite as athletic as the likes of the F-Type, you can still have plenty of fun on it. While the new XF is a huge leap forward for the Jaguar brand, it's still a work in progress. However, you get the feeling that once the right drivetrains and technology does arrive, this thing could be a genuine challenger.